Whoa. You know, they said they wanted me to do a chapel, and I'm thinking, you know, some little 40-person attended thing. I didn't know there were going to be all these people. All right, my students know how odd I am, but, you know, that's okay. We're just going to go with it. How do I get this to go? I'm there. Oh, I'm there. I can look. Okay. All right, Hollywood movies. As you can see on the screen, all these are films made by Biola students. Okay, they aren't. But everyone loves Hollywood movies. Everyone goes to Hollywood movies. And the reason people love Hollywood movies is they have good stories in them. And as an agent in Hollywood, my job was to help writers come up with a story that millions, hopefully, of people would actually pay money to go see. Now, since the dawn of time, people have cared about stories. It's how we learn about ourselves. We listen to someone tell a story and we go, yeah, how would I respond to that? How would I feel about that? So always we are putting ourselves in the story as we hear it. And always, both for humans and for Hollywood, there's always one question. Doesn't matter what the story is, you know, gravity, whoa, okay, anyway. There's always one question that a studio will ask about a script, and that's, where's the love story? Actually, I don't know if there was one in Gravity, but we can talk about that later. Anyway, movies take us to places we don't get to see in everyday life, like how would we respond to an alien invasion? Would we be curious? Would we be in awe? Or as in ID4, kind of mimicking, would we be terrified? How about the end of the world? How would we react to the end of the world? Hollywood loves to destroy Los Angeles. It's kind of a love-hate thing, I guess, okay? It's sort of, which part of LA would go first? Which part would we like to go first, okay? And then, of course, there's what if dinosaurs lived today? I mean, my granddaughter had a dinosaur birthday party. Dinosaurs. Everyone loves dinosaurs. You grew up with dinosaurs. Wouldn't it be really cool to see them? Of course, Spielberg banked on that. What would that be like? And it would be really, really, really exciting as long as you have a faster car. And, of course, while we're imagining things, what would life be like as a car, right? See? Even cars have love stories. So how do you tell a story about happy little cars that people will flock to? I remember when that came out, we're all going, how are they gonna pull this off? Pixar, you've blown it. And of course, the eyes on the windshield, that's what did it. Okay. It takes a good story. All stories are journeys of some kind. In fact, no matter what culture we come from, the human story has lots of similarities. It comes down to a journey that we're on in this life. Joseph Campbell and all my storytelling students out here are like, oh no, we've heard this. Anyway, he popularized the idea of the hero's journey. He was a professor at Sarah Lawrence College. He was teaching mythology, and he noticed that no matter what the culture was, that it always came down to this journey that kind of went through very similar stages over and over again, and he wrote it down in his book, Hero with a Thousand Faces. And of course, his book at that time was popularized in culture by, of course, George Lucas in Star Wars. And George Lucas openly admitted that he borrowed heavily from Campbell's work. Now, a book that we use here in teaching storytelling is by Chris Vogler, who also has spoken here. Chris Vogler was working at Disney at the time when Campbell's work came out, and he started using this, he sort of distilled the hero's journey down, and he started using it for Disney movies. And he actually wrote it up in a memo, and that memo got passed around to all the agencies. And I was actually a young agent at the time when I got this little memo, and my boss said, read this, check to make sure all our screenplays are following this, right? That's how carefully Hollywood was following this. So we were to make sure all our writers were up to speed on this stuff. So it came down to 12 stages. Here they are. You have an ordinary world. We have Lion King being born. We have a call to adventure, Tumnus inviting us into Narnia. Now, sometimes the hero will accept the call immediately. Often they refuse it. Often they will talk to a mentor. Here's Gandalf, classic mentor. I know, isn't this an interesting story? It's a lion going to Narnia. Oh, that would work. Okay, never mind. Anyway, after a while, they cross the first threshold. There's a lion there, too. I can't get over it. Okay. And you find yourself suddenly heading for the Emerald City. Along the way, you pick up some tests that you find some allies, like some hobbits. There's a point where you approach an innermost cave, which is so dark. I don't know if you can see it. It's the gnome cave from Lord of the Rings. Anyway, at some point, you face an ordeal. I was thinking of the Titanic should suffice. If you survive that, you grab your reward, here's the ring again, and you head back home. And usually that's popularized by car chases. You'll see in every movie where there's a car chase, that's usually the road back. And then there's a resurrection moment, a moment where everything is pulled together and you have to just finally use every possible faculty that you've got to survive. And in this case, we have the blowing up of the Death Star. And if you survive that, you ride off into the sunset, happier, wiser, alone, something, right? That's your return with the elixir. But no matter what, no matter how exciting, we always come back to, where's the love story? So one thing that Vogler noticed is that the hero's journey goes on both inside a story as well as inside the storyteller. We're all living out this hero's journey right now. So where are you right now? All right, maybe you're about as clueless as a group of people on a desert island after a plane crash. Maybe you're at a different stage, still in your ordinary world, wondering what else is out there, singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow with Toto. Maybe you've crossed the first threshold and you're headed down a new journey in your life, like starting at Biola. Maybe you're faced with an ordeal, like midterms. Technically, the midpoint of the semester is midterms, which is a crisis for many people. And this actually is a picture of the midterm for PE, which I hear is really tough. They get everybody together in the gym, and if you survive it, I guess you know, I don't know what happens. All right. If you look like Russell Crowe, that's an added plus. Okay. Perhaps you just got your reward. Maybe it's an A or a new car or a great internship. Or maybe as a result of the ordeal, you suffered a loss and you have to rethink your major or your life or a relationship. Or if you're a senior, you may feel you're headed down the home stretch, back to freedom, a new job, and that important handshake from Dr. Corey. But usually there will still be one more hurdle to cross, one more test until you discover the meaning of it all. How many have seen Life of Pi? What a great moment that was. And that might be, there's no place like home. Or maybe just that there's nothing as great as a pair of good red sparkly shoes, okay? But no matter what, no story is really done without the love story. I love Wally, love story. It's certainly possible that your current journey may be already about love of your parents or your kids, your friends, or even your fiance. But I'm talking about that greatest love story of all, your love of God. Where are you on that journey? Which is the greatest journey of all. And that's the journey that's going to inform all your other journeys. Happily, at Biola, this is a question you do get to think about. But just because you're a Christian doesn't mean your relationship to Christ is just completely guaranteed, that deep relationship. I think many Christians barely know him, or they've forgotten about him in their efforts to survive in school and in life. So where are you? Are you just getting acquainted with him? Is he your friend? Do you trust him? I think the perfect film about the relationship of our soul to Christ is Harry Met Sally. So I'm going to play a short clip and I will explain it to you. So what does that mean? Well, I really like this example because I think it's like God comes up to us and he says, I love you. And our response to him is, what do I do with this information? And then he lays out all of these reasons that he loves us, all these little things he created in us. And again, like Sally, our response is, you know, Harry, it makes me really hard to hate you, right? And I hate you. I actually think our secular culture, and I think even some of us in many ways, want to just not love God, to hate him, or maybe make him go away. But the truth is, he's not going to go away. He is going to keep pursuing us no matter what until we give in. So where is your love story? No great movie is really complete without a good one. We are told to put God first in our lives. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, mind, and then love our neighbors as ourselves. I think many people probably love their neighbors more than God, and that's not saying much. And we still fall really short. We need to love God first. There's nothing about this statement that seems to give us an out. We aren't to love him just intellectually or philosophically or just try hard to love him. We're told to put it all on the line. It says all. So, how do you fall in love with someone who's invisible? Well, I have some ideas. And each one could be an hour sermon, and they won't let me talk that long. So here you go. First, I think you need to believe he's real and wants a personal relationship with you. And then if you're having a hard time with that, ask him to help you with your unbelief. God is the author and perfecter of our faith. Talk to him honestly, like you'd talk to a beloved friend. It's not like he doesn't know everything you're thinking anyway. Just tell him, right? Let him know where you thought he dropped the ball. I realized actually as a result of a spiritual formation session here, which I thought was very valuable, that I was actually very angry with God. This is a few years ago. And I had to spend about 3 months really working through some areas where I thought God hadn't shown up for me. And he showed up to help me understand some of that stuff. And some of the stuff I may never understand, but I got honest with him. Imagine he's with you all the time. I have a horrifyingly long drive from Oxnard to here. He's right next to me. He's great. He tells me what to look out for. It's awesome. Listen. Be still and know that he's God. I think we spend so much time going, oh no, or help me, or I need this, that we forget to listen. Just listen. And he may not answer instantly. And it may come as a little insight or something like that. Just take some time and listen. Read about it. Again, this is easy at Biola, but read the Bible. The Bible's all about him. He's all over the pages of the Bible. And there's plenty of books. Ask professors if you want to find a good book about him. I'm sure you can find one. Read about others who love him and their relationship to him. Try to find out who is he? Why do they love him so much? And you can't seem to lock in on him. How did other people do that? Decrease your distractions. Now, you know, it's midterms, and between that and texting your friends and, playing World of Warcraft, oh my gosh, right? Who's got time for God? The truth is, if you do have time to watch a lot of television or anything, you should take some of that time and spend it with God. How else are you going to get to know him? Dwell on the beautiful. I think this culture and this particular generation, you are so inundated with ugly stuff. Ugly stuff. Television is ugly. Now, I'm not saying it's not powerful. I'm not saying that powerful stories aren't important and you can't learn from them. I'm not saying that it's not important to know what's going on in the news and to know that, who needs our help, that looking at the state of humanity. I'm just saying spend an equal amount of time dwelling on the beautiful. I challenge you to spend an equal amount of time dwelling on the beautiful. We are told biblically to do that. That means going outside, looking at a sunset, listening to beautiful music. I know that can, vary from person to person. I'm just saying dwell on the beautiful. And then reach out to others. I think we get so here. Help somebody else that needs help. Talk to somebody else that's lonely if you're lonely, right? Somebody else that's struggling with a class. They may not be struggling with the same class you're struggling with, but you can talk to them. Reach out to them. Loving God is hard because he's invisible. And I think it's really is because we don't know him. We've not taken time to know him. And truthfully, because he's huge, right? We can't ever really know him. Like Aslan in Narnia, he is big. He can be scary. He is not a tame lion, but he is good. But if we work to know him and start spending more time with him, we will discover that he loves us. And the closer we draw to him, we will find how much we love him. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, an 11th century monk, used the Song of Solomon as a sermon to illustrate the kind of love we should have with God. Other famous mystics, Mechtilde in the 13th century, St. Catherine of Siena, 300 years later, St. Teresa of Avila, St. John of the Cross, wrote famously of their ardent and passionate love for Christ. Their deep encounters with the Lord led them to poverty, prison, martyrdom for what they believed was the most profound love of all. These people were so on fire for Christ that they overcame major illnesses and obstacles and changed the world. Lukewarm love doesn't do that. Head knowledge only doesn't do that. Real, tangible love is what sends people out to a hurting world. Christ is calling out to you. He desires a deep, profound relationship with you. Can you imagine? The creator of the universe wants to ask you to the prom. So, if you want a love that is never ending, make getting to know Jesus your priority. Let Christ be your big love story. Here are some famous love scenes to remind us of how wonderful love is, and it should remind us that we are able to love because Christ first loved us. I'm sorry. I love those scenes. Some of the greatest scenes, Casablanca and just Moulin Rouge and Titanic and these wonderful love stories. And the singing in the rain with him jumping around. We forget he's jumping around and singing in the rain because he's in love, right? Do we feel like that about God? Do we feel like running around in the rain and jumping and singing? Why not? Why not? Because we should. We should feel like that about God. Because that's how much he loves us. He adores us. Every person in this room, he adores you. He adores you. And he wants you to love him back like that. I just think a love that big deserves our response to it. And if we take time to get to know him. If you're not there yet, that's okay. It may take time, it takes time to fall in love. You don't walk across the street, the first woman you meet, and go, hi, I'm in love with you. If you do, you're really weird, right? You're a weird guy. You have to get to know them. And if you haven't gotten to know him yet, I just ask you to dive in, and start meeting who God really is and getting to know him. And if you have things that are blocking you, anger at him, things that have happened, and we all have that, dive in and say, help me, Lord. Help me understand why that happened. Where were you in that? And talk to others who love him. Come talk to me. I adore him. I can really honestly say, he's number one in my life. I love him so much. And I picked that piece of music because I love him so much. Because I feel like that music makes my heart pound for him. So I want to encourage you. I want you to go in search of that really, really big love story. Don't settle for anything less than a deep and profound love of Christ, because it's going to transform you, and that'll change everything in your life, and it might even change the world. Thank you.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.